Okay, hello everyone on the second channel. Let's hope this is working. There we go. My beard's looking a bit crazy. Let's just go live and then let's go live and then you guys can skip forward because obviously the stream is done by the time you guys are watching it on the second channel right now. So skip forward a couple minutes or whatever you normally do. I don't really know much about the people who watch us on the second channel, like how you like to watch these things. Do you like to just like leave it on in the background or something? So let me get the chat up. So start shouting this out. But yeah, I'm gonna try and get a bit better with the streaming. I've been kind of slacking a bit lately. I've been busy though. Alright, one sec. Streaming now. Discord as well. Everyone follow my Discord if you're not already. Let's stick that in the new videos section. And now we wait. Now we wait for people to join before we start talking about anything. But yeah, people on the second channel, thanks for supporting the second channel. It's obviously like nice to have a backup. Me and my girlfriend are actually going on this big like road trip in Scotland. I was thinking of maybe posting like not like a massive vlog, but like a vlog type thing on the second channel, which I think could be fun. Let me just check something. I'm really hungry though, so I'm hopefully going to stream for about an hour or so. Also looking forward to E3, which starts this week, but not really. Like the good ones are, you know, a bit further away. And then also looking forward to the Euros, which starts not tomorrow. I think they start on Thursday. Turkey versus Italy, which should be good. I don't know if you can watch it in America. It's pretty much free in the UK, which is pretty cool. Let me have a look at it quick. I think it starts on Thursday. And of course, like I would talk about it here, but there's obviously like massive political connotations to a lot of it because of what Ukraine's kit has on it. Basically, has a map of Ukraine with like Eastern Ukraine and Crimea on it, and the shirt has like "Glory to Ukraine" on the front. Okay, 8 o'clock on Friday we got the Turkey versus Italy. Nice. And then yeah, that should be good. So I'm hyped for all that stuff to happen. Yeah, so this Ellie Kemper thing, I want to talk about the apology. I also want to talk about the Queen as well, because I missed this stuff. It's about the Queen having like, or Buckingham Palace having these like things about race in the 60s about who could apply for jobs there, which I thought was interesting to talk about. And then maybe talk about some football politics stuff. Alright. Hi Wampa Juice and hi VKRTM, thanks for joining. Wait for a couple more people before we really dive into the stream. So if you guys got any questions for the first couple minutes, I'm happy to answer anything you got to ask. I've got a couple good videos coming out this week. The one tomorrow, I really gotta like think about the messaging a bit more. I don't know. I want to talk about like red pilling as like a term and snowflake, because red pilling comes from obviously the Matrix, and it's about like, you know, coming out as transgender essentially, and snowflake is from the Fight Club book. I'm not sure, I don't remember, I haven't seen it in a while. I'm not sure if Brad Pitt, like I can imagine it happening. I don't know if he says snowflake in the actual film, but obviously these two films are like, you know, progressive-ish films, and using them like snowflake is meant to be like Fight Club's whole thing. Of course, it's been against like corporatism, corporatist capitalism and stuff, but it's also obviously against toxic masculinity. And snowflake, and then using the term snowflake is meant to be like part of that. So it's just funny they've missed it. want to talk about Battlefield and the clean Wehrmacht myth, which kind of builds on this video I did on Battlefield 5's German campaign about 2 years ago now. So I want to do that as well. I'll see if anything comes up tomorrow. I'm not, like with the right wing adopting lefty movie stuff. Like I am comfortable talking about it, but I'm just trying to think about how I actually make a whole video on that. Everything. So just reading some comments. Hi, Red Leader. Hi, Spooky Kitty. Random guy as well. Do you think a political science degree is useless? Well, I have one, so no. Because, yeah, I have a master's in international relations, which is political science. It really, honestly, the thing is, what you'll realise when you come out of university is most jobs don't require specialised degrees, right? So if you want to go into a particular field, get a degree in that field, because if you just don't know what you want to do, like, it doesn't really matter, to be honest. If you really don't have like a goal, like for me, I wanted to do like journalism, so doing politics and like history was like, it's fine because it's writing. Obviously it's a bit hard. I probably should have done journalism on a journalism course. Obviously I do YouTube now, so yeah, Red Leader. I made a video like 2 years ago. You can go check it out. I called it A Nazi Campaign Without the Nazis. And I said literally just like, how can you not talk about the ideology of the Nazis in a campaign which is about like the last days of the Nazi regime and how like mad it is and stuff? And obviously you have the characters, like you have one fanatic, one young recruit, one like old veteran, and one guy who kind of like doesn't believe in it at the end. But I think the overall message of it is that it really sanitizes the Nazis in general, because the thing is, like with like a film like Fury, for example, I don't think it's like the best film ever, but like I think what it's good at showing is like the bleakness and like chaos of like the last days of like the Nazi regime. And like you see deserters being hung, you see like, you know, young people and stuff fighting for the Nazis. And the campaign really doesn't get into anything about the political side, and not to mention doesn't even have swastikas in it because of some ridiculous reason. So I think I'm going to expand on what that video and basically talk about a lot of the comments, because if you go on that video, it's way more downvoted, and loads of people telling me like, oh, they're just like humans, blah 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 blah. And now that I've actually become more aware of the clean Wehrmacht myth, which I didn't actually know about when I made the video, I think it's like so much worse as like propaganda. And the ending is like, oh, the fanatic basically killed the rational ones. I don't know. I really don't like that ending because it makes it look like the fanatics were like a tiny minority. What it would have been better, I think, to see is like these characters who like buy into the ideology, but then kind of realize right at the end how like bad it's been for them personally as well, but then not having any redemption, because that's what it feels like with the campaign, the German campaign about Battlefield 5. It's like a couple of these characters have some sort of redemption in it, and I don't think that's a good message when the guy you play as is like a career Nazi soldier. So yeah, I wanna build on that. So I could make that video tomorrow. I'm feeling better about making it on Friday though, because I think I need to do a bit more research. But it feels like a Friday vid maybe. Yeah, Red Leader. That's another point exactly. Yeah, like a lot of the Wehrmacht or you know, even a lot of the Nazis who did some of the stuff got let off. So yeah. So Glitch 42, I got ads before. Woo, oh that's good. Oh yeah, I'll talk about this in a sec. 'Cause I got a message about it the other day. I think you have good takes. Too bad about being a Man U fan. I can't win them all, right? Yeah, I support Brentford as well because it's weird because they're like my local London team. And they're always really shit. So I never thought they'd ever be in the Prem. So obviously I was buzzing when they went up. Yeah, so something to clarify quick, because someone said to me, I'm basically lying about being demonetized because they get ads on videos. This stream will be demonetized like after it's gone up on my channel. After I'm done, it'll have it demonetized because I'm talking about KKK princess, so it'll be demonetized. What demonetized means is that your video has been flagged as like not suitable for most advertisers, right? So when you're demonetized, less companies will bid on your video. So say I put, not that I ever do this, say I put like 10 ads in a demonetized video, there's a chance you're going to click on it and not have any ads. And that's the way it works, right? And even if you do have ads, the people paying for them are not paying as much. That's what demonetized means. Demonetized does not mean you can't make any money from it. But when I have a demonetized video, you guys probably don't notice, when I have a demonetized video, I literally just put in like 2 ads or something. And I basically only do that because I think the algorithm would penalize me for not putting any ads in. And also to address some comments, someone's saying that like I put too many ads in my monetized videos. So basically, most of my videos, I say it's about 50-50, don't get monetized. So when I get a monetized one, I put like, yeah, I do put a fair few ads in there, but I try and have like 4-minute breaks between them. Someone was saying like, oh, you did a double ad. I don't choose what ads get put in there, just for clarification. So yesterday I think I did an ad at 4 minutes, 8 minutes, and 12 minutes. On a 26-minute video. I think I had one more like right at the end, but also I know from my analytics most people are not watching to the end, so I'm not getting that like last one. So that's why I try and concentrate them at the start. Obviously, like this is my job and trying to make money, and half my videos are demonetized. So I just thought I'd respond to some of the things because I've been getting some comments lately about the ad stuff. And also, fun fact, if you really don't want to watch my videos with ads, then follow me on Reddit or join the subreddit because you will not get any ads if you watch the video in Reddit's video player. So that's a fun workaround. If the ads really bother you and you want to watch my content uninterrupted, go onto my Reddit sub, the Kavernacle, or follow my personal Reddit. It should be in the description of the stream. And then you can watch the whole video when it comes out, because always post it on there. Watch the whole video, or alternatively, if you're a patron, I think you can just watch it in the patron player and you won't get any ads. Yeah, so if it really bothers you, the ad stuff, watch my videos through another website, basically. Or have an ad blocker or something. Yeah, so that's because, like, for example, last week, 2 of my videos were demonetized, so I barely put any ads on them. But then the one on, let me check, the one on Friday, I believe, was monetized, so I stuck a bunch of ads on it. That's basically what I do. Yeah, so I did the KKK Princess and the Sparta thing, both demonetized, so I didn't put any ads on them. And then I had the Rage Against the Machine one, and I put ads on it. And then I had the TikTok one yesterday, which I put ads on. But then if I do some other ones tomorrow maybe, or the rest of the week, I won't put ads on that much if it's demonetized, basically. In my mind, if it's demonetized, I don't even want to put any ads on it, but I just, like I said, I'm very superstitious about the algorithm, so I don't want to like annoy it or something. No, I haven't started talking about it yet. Do I play on console PC? Darren, because me and my girlfriend are thinking about being like digital nomads and stuff, like moving to different countries to do this stuff. I'm gonna migrate to PC slowly. I've got a gaming PC actually. I bought one when my desktop died. So I want to slowly migrate to PC, but at the moment, like PS5, Switch, sometimes Xbox One, but my Xbox One is like first gen, like literally the first model, and it only runs in like 900p. So I'm happy enough to move to the PC. One thing I will say, it's annoying how the stuff I've bought on my Xbox account is not showing up on the Xbox app on Windows. Like I bought Doom Eternal on Xbox, but I can't play it on my PC basically. This is a good one. I watch your ads intentionally so you get revenue. Thanks so much. Really appreciate that. Yeah, people just joining. I was just explaining how ad revenue works on YouTube. Oh, Spooky Kitty just plays for YouTube Premium. You know, it's not such a bad deal when you get the streaming music stuff as well. Yeah, so I'll get to the response. I'll wait a couple more minutes. If anyone has any questions, just get them in quick. Love the last video. Yeah, I really enjoyed that last video. Seems like right up my alley of just absolutely really weird shit. Yeah, I've been feeling pretty inspired with creating videos lately. I think it's coming to an end a bit because I'm running out of ideas. That TikTok one kind of just came to me, and I was thinking like, am I too late? Because I saw like Xanderfall. I saw him stream about this like 2 weeks ago, and I was like, am I too late to do this? And I was like, fuck it, I'll just do it. The music one didn't do as well as I thought, but I enjoyed making that one as well because it's funny. The smarter one was a lot of fun. The Ellie Kemper one was good. Zack Snyder, Abby Shapiro, that's all a lot of fun as well. So yeah, I've been enjoying making my stuff lately, really. Just tomorrow I'm a bit stressed, like what video do I do? Like I always get a bit stressed because sometimes I was working on other stuff today, like writing some stuff and like making some overlay stuff for my YouTube, and I was like, so maybe I should research for tomorrow's video, and I was like, no, I won't. Also, the weather's really hot now, so it makes doing YouTube like a massive piss take because I recorded that video at like 11 p.m. yesterday, and I was still so hot after doing it. It was still like 26 degrees in my room or something. All right, I want to get into this in a sec. How many chocolate oranges? I have 5, and we're on 35.6. So hopefully this time next week we'll be on 35. I'm hoping. Hi, Katie. Thanks for joining. I haven't seen you in a while. Amity saying, how you like Doom Eternal? I completed it like a year ago. I really liked it, and I actually thought the platforming was kind of fun. It's really, really hard, like a lot harder than the first one. I think a bit too hard. Like, it gets really ridiculous at a point, which I enjoy, but then towards the end, like especially the final boss, on like a harder difficulty, is just like unbelievably hard for me. I just don't have the movement speed and like the concentration. I really like the game. Also, I'm really disappointed that it didn't have multiplayer because I really like the multiplayer in the first one. I have the first one on Switch. I think the first one's better, like personally, but I like them both. Yeah, the Red Leader, you'd like the Sparta one. I talk about like Assassin's Creed Odyssey and like obviously the film 300. Oh, thanks, Darren. Your vids are the best niche. No one else has good analysis on Tulsi Gabbard's ties to the alt-right. Yeah, I think I've been vindicated about my Tulsi Gabbard videos, considering what she's turned out to be like. Where do I think Liverpool will be in the table? I think Liverpool, honestly, it's kind of hard to predict because Chelsea look good at the moment. United need to buy some good players. I think it will be like the same top 4, to be honest, next season. It just depends who goes for the title. Obviously, I hope United. No, okay, it's no problem. And thanks for nice words in the Sparta video. Yeah, Red Leader, it did, but at the same time, is there many like AAA games where you get to explore the whole of Greece in that period? Also, I will say actually, I think the game suffered massively from not being made from the main Assassin's Creed dev team because when you play Origins and Valhalla, you can see how much more effort went into the actual like worlds of these. Like they're just so massive and like they're really dense and stuff. Whereas I think Odyssey is a bit more like surface level, and it's also your character runs really quick. It feels like it's just about like going through as quick as possible, even though it's a massive game. It still is a lot of fun though. Like I really like just bringing your boat up to like a Greek island and jumping off and seeing what's there. But I think that Origins especially, like it's so much more detailed, like the environments and the cities and stuff. I really want to go back and play it. I wish it got a PS5 update because it's a very good looking game. Tulsi is trash. Yes, she is. Tulsi Goddard is a phony. Her sugar daddy's a Bibi emoji. Yeah, exactly. Anti-intervention but not anti-war. Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. And that's like a lot of Nazis and stuff as well. I've never played Bloodborne. I might one day. I do have it on my PS5. These games are too hard for me though. Yeah, Alan, that's a good point. Are there any TV shows that right-wingers like not understanding its message and trying to appropriate them? I've seen some people in the Mr. Robot subreddits talking about keeping politics out of the show and stuff, which is really funny. But other than that, I can't really think of too many examples, to be honest. Like people can put it in the comments if you want. At this moment, right-wingers just seem to get really pissed off about this stuff rather than like trying to I mean, maybe like the Mandalorian in Clone Wars, they think is like anti-SJW for some reason when it's clearly not. I guess that's a couple, so I'm gonna move this back a bit. All right, so I'll take more questions later. I just think I should get on with what we're going to talk about. So sorry to get the chat. Oh yeah, Mario Golf looks fun. I probably will buy that. Euro predictions. Oh sorry. I've got France in my sweepstake, so I'd say France, Portugal, England. France, Portugal, England. I think. I think Germany won't get out of the group. So we'll see. But yeah, I hope England do well. I'd like a dark horse. Like, I don't like Ukraine's politics, but Ukraine have actually been really solid. So Ukraine or Croatia would be cool, or any team like that really. Denmark doing well again. The thing about the Euros is so like solid in terms of the teams involved. Not like the World Cup where you get like proper trash teams. Euros, like everyone is really really good. So I'm really excited for it. Like Saturday is going to be such a good day, and Sunday, like 6 games of football, just going to be like, and also because like it's on free TV, I can watch it on my TV, which is at the end of my bed. So I'm really looking forward to that. All right, so let's get into this. So for those of you who don't know, I've made a whole video on this. People on Twitter, let's see if I can pull it up. People on Twitter were calling Ellie Kemper KKK princess, right? And like sometimes with Twitter, like, you know, it's quite hyperbolic in terms of like, you know, the KKK. They all saying Ellie Kemper was in the KKK because she was in this thing called the Veiled Prophet pageant. It's not called that anymore. So here she is, and she's 19 years old. I'm going to get into her apology. I think it's a good apology. She's actually hard on herself, and I was harder on her. So look, Kimmy Schmidt was crowned KKK queen in 1999. Again, it's not like I mean, I don't really care when we call that racist stuff, but like this thing isn't the KKK. It's a bit more nuanced. Like it's really racist. So I guess I don't have such a problem with people calling it that. But then yeah, people were calling it that basically, and basically my point here is what I said in terms of like how I felt about her doing this in general. I said like she was 19, right? And people will say that's old enough, and that's fair enough. But I'm thinking about like generally people when they're 19. I said she's raised in a certain culture. The Kempers, her family, are very, very like old money in where is this place? Is it Missouri? I think St. Louis, Missouri. I think. Very, very old money. They've been involved in the community for like 150 years, like bankers, people who've created railroads and stuff. She comes from a very, very privileged family. And I said, because of that privilege and like, you know, the links to things like the Confederacy, like that her ancestors would have had, I feel like as a kid, I'm not holding it totally against her that she was very ignorant of what this thing was, because when you grow up in a certain environment, you feel certain ways about stuff. And my example here was, so here's Mia Khalifa, right? She has a Lebanese Forces cross on her arm. It's gone now, apparently, because apparently someone said it's covered up. So the tattoo's gone now, but the Lebanese Forces in 1982 basically killed a bunch of Palestinian refugees in Lebanon while the Israelis watched. And the Lebanese and forces have often allied with the Israelis while fighting Palestinian insurgents and Hezbollah and stuff in Lebanon. But she is like a massive advocate for the Palestinians, but she's Lebanese Catholic. Like, is it called like Maronite or something? She's Lebanese Catholic. So that's not something you see all the time. And she said she got this because of her family. And her dad was in the Lebanese forces and he was attacked for it in like 2012 or something. But then she says she wasn't aware of like, you know, the wider international like view of this group. And then she's had it removed. And that was when she was like young, basically. So I'm saying people can change. And when they come out of their bubble, they gain new perspective on the world. So this is one example right here. She has this tattoo about this group that killed a bunch of Palestinians and historically have been anti-Palestinian. And now she's like a massive advocate for the Palestinians. And she's against Israel while the Lebanese forces often, you know, collaborate with Israel. So then, yeah, I wasn't holding it too much against them. And I basically just used the video to talk about the history of the Veiled Prophet stuff. And basically what it is that there was, some of you guys might know this, in America, the railroad strike of 1877, but in St. Louis, basically black workers and white workers joined together and it was pretty sick actually. Like they took over like this whole area of St. Louis, and it really freaked out like the old money people like this who are like in the Confederacy and stuff. So they designed this pageant where you have this veiled prophet who no one knows about. They designed this to sort of like as a social club connection for all the old money in St. Louis, to stay like together against the changing times like of working class unions and things like that. And basically, what happened is a lot of the people involved were people who crushed the strike, and people like that. And basically, so yeah, I talk about all this in the video, like in more depth. But basically, as corporate, and like Karl Marx talks about this strike as well, which is funny. Also, what's interesting, it says, is that as the veiled as St. Louis and Missouri was becoming more involved with like global corporations, the veiled prophet as an organization would have its members like get really high ranking positions at these companies. So even though the face of St. Louis's business has changed, the families involved in the businesses there are still pretty much the same as those who were involved in like the 1870s. And that's thanks to things like the Veiled Prophet organization, which have helped these families basically stay in power despite corporations obviously coming to St. Louis. These people would get into the top of the hierarchies of these corporations. So anyway, so that's the long and short of it. So basically, it's an anti-communist, anti-worker movement as much as it is a racist one. Like she says in an apology, it's an elitist thing. So let me know what you guys think of this apology. If you guys haven't heard it, I'm going to read it now for you. So she posted on Instagram. Let me see if you guys can see this. All right, you can see it. She posted on Instagram, "Hi guys, when I was 19 years old, I decided to participate in a debutante ball in my hometown. The century-old organization that hosted the debutante ball had an unquestionably racist, sexist, and elitist past. I was not aware of this history at the time, but ignorance is no excuse. I was old enough to have educated myself before getting involved. There is a very natural temptation when you become the subject of internet criticism to tell yourself that your detractors are getting it wrong, but at some point last week I realised that a lot of the forces behind the criticism are forces that I've spent my life supporting and agreeing with. I believe strongly in the values of kindness, integrity and inclusiveness. I try to live my life in accordance with these values. If my experience is an indication that organisations and institutions with past that fall short of these beliefs should be held to account, then I have to see this experience in a positive light. I unequivocally deplore, denounce, and reject white supremacy. At the same time, I acknowledge that because of my race and my privilege, I am the beneficiary of a system that has dispensed unequal justice and unequal rewards." So, in my mind, I say, all things considered, it's not a bad apology. I think that's pretty much a good apology because she doesn't say that. And I gave her the benefit of the doubt. I said she's 19. She's a product of her environment. She grows up in an extremely wealthy family, which, like I said, has massive links to like the groups like the Confederacy and stuff like that in St. Louis itself. But that's as good of an apology you can ask for, I think, because she acknowledges that the people criticizing her were right, that she should have known better. So fair enough. She's hard on herself, and I'm harder on her. But I said, I don't know how racist she is, but she's probably maybe in this context she's a bit more racist than other people. Like not today, but like in this event and stuff. So yeah, I think that's a perfectly acceptable apology because this thing has rebranded itself, and it was called the Veiled Prophet when she was the queen or whatever, but it's changed a lot more, and a lot of people actually don't know what it is. And I guess sometimes with historical stuff like that, maybe the significance is sometimes lost on people. Like I always think like the Orange Parade, I'm like, how is the Orange Parade even like allowed to still go ahead? And it's like a holiday in Northern Ireland. I'm thinking like it's the most provocative thing in terms of it's like celebrating the start, or like the continued and the real like systematic discrimination of Catholics in Ireland. That's what they're fucking celebrating with the Orange Parade. And like I can imagine like some Northern Irish kid just growing up thinking that's like a fun holiday. Do you know what I mean? Obviously, it's deeply sectarian and stuff. So yeah, I think. What do people think in the chat? Right. I think that's a fine enough apology. So let's have a look what you guys think. Wait, who's Mohammed? Oh, someone in the chat talking about Turkey or something. Kennedy say no one has a brain or a conscience until they turn 22. Yeah, I mean, I think that there's limits. I think sometimes we're a bit too hard on people that age, I guess. So yeah, I agree with you to some extent. And obviously, like, if you grow up in that environment, then I think it's very hard. You know, if you grow up in that environment, it's also like I was saying about the Israeli Defense Force. It's like obviously there are very principled people in Israel who don't do their mandatory service in the Israeli Defense Force. But to a lot of people, if you grow up in Israel, all your friends do it, men and women, all your family did it. If you actually don't do it, they might hate you and shun you. So might as well just go in and, like, I don't know, do your 2 years and that's it, right? And my problem in the video yesterday was it's about like celebrating this stuff and like promoting it. But as someone who believes like not much in free will, I don't necessarily always, you know, condemn people forever for growing up in a certain context and having certain views. My problem mainly goes to when you get older. So my problem with Gal Gadot is that she's, as an older person, she's promoted the IDF's like imperialism and stuff, and she's promoted Israel's foreign policy. That's the problem. It's not so much like you're the worst because you were in the IDF when you were like 19 years old or something. It's more like now you're 35 years old with children or however old she is, you're still promoting this stuff. And surely, like, as someone who's travelled a lot outside of Israel, you know, international actor, you probably realise this isn't as good anymore. So I have sympathy for people, even to a certain age as an adult, still being very much products of their environment. And, you know, how many people do you know in your life who maybe grew up very conservative, or how many, you know, of you guys grew up very conservative and then you're not anymore or something? And, like, maybe that realisation didn't come until you were, like, 19, 20, 21 or whatever. So, yeah, I don't always like holding it against people forever. And I think, yeah, Apologies, you know, it's pretty good. It's not asking for sympathy. It's not saying people were wrong. It's admitting their fault as well, which is interesting. And doesn't really talk about it. And she's saying she should have known better. And like I said, I didn't even say that. I said, like, I wouldn't expect her to know better. But, you know, that's good on her part for saying she should have known better. Do they burn the Pope on that day? I mean, they probably do. I haven't really seen it, though. I always thought the Orange Parade was, like, along the lines of a KKK riot. Nah, it's not, like, inherently violent, but often violence goes with it. But, yeah, it's, like, insanely provocative, just what it's celebrating. What would happen if you walked around Ireland with a sign that said unite as one nation? I mean, if you walk around the Republic like that, no one's going to give a shit. They'll probably like support you. If you walk around the North like that, don't go to Protestant parts of Belfast. England is in the middle of a heat wave. It's not fun. And my air conditioner's like leaking now, which is great. Taylor Swift fan went to jail. Yeah. The thing is, some people are saying that's not real. I really hope it is real. Don't know how you can do a better apology. Who here didn't think even one fucked up thing before they grew out of their environment and got more education? Yeah, exactly. That's what I feel like. Yeah, that's interesting where you say that, Red Leader. The rest of the world has a day of mourning for American workers, but Americans don't even know it. I didn't really know what May Day was because someone in my Discord was like celebrating it, and I was like all I know about May Day is like some like union celebration or some shit. Like I've never been taught about what it is really. It's just like a bank holiday. Yeah, Masson saying the Irish celebrate a Dutch king. Yeah, that's how cucked. That's how cucked the Protestants were in England. Is like they literally like, oh, because we don't want Catholics having more equality under, I think it's James II, William of Orange, please come to England and Ireland and conquer it and enact a system that is extremely discriminatory against Catholic people. So yeah, it's so stupid. I was told my friend's Dutch girlfriend, although she was getting mad at me, she's like, it's Wilhelm of Orange, it's not William of Orange. I was like, they call him William of Orange in England, so that's what I'm going to call him. Katie's saying, I went to college in DC when I was 18 and had my worldview shattered within a few weeks. It's important for us to grow up and face reality, but that takes time. Yeah, exactly. I feel like a lot of people have that in college. Like my real lurch, like hardcore leftist, I'd say was doing my master's degree, because that was like politics and stuff. And that was when I was 22, right? But I was kind of weird. I've talked about this before. Like I voted Conservative in my first election because I thought Ed Miliband was like so such a joke. But also I talked about this in my video where I talk about my shift in politics. Is basically you're brainwashed to a certain extent in England, but because I liked history and stuff, and like I thought I was like smart on foreign policy as like a dumb like 19-year-old, I thought like Labour were a bit like too ridiculous with all this stuff. But also when I was 19, I was supported Bernie Sanders. Like that's how fucked up my stupid worldview was. Like I guess I thought that the UK was like better no matter what than somewhere like the US because of things like the NHS and stuff. And then I just like hated Ed Miliband. Weird. But when I did my masters, like I completely shifted. Like I didn't necessarily like Jeremy Corbyn to start with, because I thought he was like deliberately incendiary, like to his actual detriment. But to be fair though, I went back. They're all gone now. Sadly, I don't know why they cleared like the servers of the politics paper at my uni. But thankfully, I saved most of the articles on like a WordPress. I went back and read some of my old articles about the anti-Semitism Labour stuff in 2016, and I didn't even like Jeremy Corbyn. And I'm happy to read that I was defending him and saying like, because basically Jeremy Corbyn said something like, we don't think all Jews represent like the Netanyahu government the same way we don't think Muslims all represent ISIS. And then obviously the press was like, oh, Jeremy Corbyn compares Israel to ISIS. I'm happy, even when I didn't like him, I wrote an article saying about like how this is like ridiculous, how it's like smearing him and stuff. And even though like I don't think it was the best thing for him to talk about in that speech, these comparisons are ridiculous. And then I wrote a couple of articles about that. So I'm happy, like, the thing is with me, I was like, I had this core, like, I was like a decent person with decent politics, but like, I think I was just like a bit naive. And I think that comes with age and stuff, like, enter the work world, really have the veil lifted on who controls politics in this country, like how corrupt it is, how Tories are like so in bed with like big business because they went to school together, stuff like that. So I don't like being too harsh on people, but I think there is an age where you should know better. Like, I don't know. And also there's other shit like I really, really hate people who are anti-communist as like a political identity, because it was making me laugh because there's a guy called Vince Cable. I'm gonna try and find it for you actually. A guy called Vince Cable. He used to be the leader of the Liberal Democrats, very centrist centre-left party in the UK, right? Clearly no socialist, right? And this is what gets me about anti-communists. This guy, obviously, he respects... Wait, Bubble Boy is talking to me. Okay, I've talked to him about it. Let's see if I can find this. He talks about how, like, on Karl Marx's, like, birthday or something, that he, like, respects... like what he stood for and stuff, and like respects the good of Marxism. And that's why like often like with brainwashed, and does he still have Twitter, with brainwashed like people who are like so passionately anti-communist or anti-Marxist, I just find it a bit ridiculous. He deleted it. Oh, it was about Lenin. Damn, Vince K was even more based than I thought. So it was about the 150 years since Lenin's birthday, and Vince Cable, which is a centrist, right? You don't need to be a communist or even a socialist to recognise the positives as well as the evils in Lenin's rule. And talking about market socialism, like, okay, that's not really communism to be fair, but he has like said, he said some stuff about Karl Marx as well, which I'm trying to find. But that makes me fun. That makes me laugh. Like that's why I always get annoyed about like massive anti-communist as a political position, and that's what I think like the nuance. So I if I think about my life, I remember what I used to say about communism when I was like a dumb like 19-year-old. I was like, oh, communism sounds really good, but it will never work. Like, who's gonna do the revolution? Like a bunch of middle class office workers or some shit. So like I was never like a proper anti-communist, and I always liked Che Guevara as well. And I like, okay, I don't like Mao, but Mao like was pretty insane as a leader before he became the ruler of China. Like if you read about the civil war in China, it's actually like mad how much the Red Army really suffered. It's actually crazy. Like is communism like this super ideology where you can just like go through the harshest wars of all time and win? Like it's like the comparisons of like Mao's Red Army and like and Ho Chi Minh and stuff is pretty like good comparisons and stuff. Anyway, so yeah, so I feel like a lot of people are decent, but like the anti-communist point was mainly like you're brainwashed to feel a certain way, and I feel like when you get to a certain age, even if you're not, for example, like a socialist, communist, or whatever, you can still recognize the good that communists and people have done, or socialists, or you know, even I was arguing with some like liberals on my Discord who said that Vietnam and Cuba were better off before the revolution. I'm like, what reality do you live in? Like that you think those are better systems? Clearly, people don't know anything about the history of those countries. Just think capitalism equals better than communism. But I feel like when you get older, no matter what, you've got to have more nuance, and I think that comes with age sometimes and education. But a lot of people never get out of that, which is frustrating. So Ellie Kemper's a good example of someone who did get out of that because, as they're saying right now, that's not the words of someone who's been sneakily caught out of actually being a massive racist. It's someone who seems like they've genuinely evolved and they grew up in a certain environment. So I'm not gonna hold it against them forever. But yeah, that's why I hate like middle class people who love politics a bit more than others, because of like you've had the benefit of an education, a lot of you like a good university education, and still like you have no nuance, and your understanding of politics is so heavily like still understood by you through your indoctrination from a young age and stuff. Gonna read some more stuff. If you walk around with a sign around that sign around the Republic, someone will buy you a pint. Oh my god, 100 degrees here too. Yeah, it sucks. And like my air conditioner is like broken, so I've put in like a pan underneath it to get the water, and that's all fine, but it just smells really bad. Like there's clearly something wrong with it, but like it's so heavy and like sealed up. I can't just like unscrew it and look what the problem is. I need to buy like something new. Do you think Ellie Kemper's reputation will recover? Yeah, I think it will. I think most people don't give a shit anyway, to be honest. Only some people on Twitter. That's the only reason I saw it. So, is Ulfric Stormcloak the true High King of Skyrim? No, he's white supremacist. What did you get a degree in liberal arts? I don't understand. Like, is liberal arts like what it's actually called in America, or is that just like a slur or whatever? So I got bachelor's in history, which is humanities, and I got a master's degree in international relations, which is political science. So it's like it's actually different. The way you write essays is different. The way you research, the way you do loads of stuff is very the way it's even marked is very different. History is way more concerned on your grammar, structure, lots of things. Where politics is a bit more casual. It's more about like good arguments and stuff rather than real in-depth stuff. Oh, of course, at master's level it is quite in-depth as well. Kennedy saying, I also think a lot of American leftists forget how hard it is to break out of propaganda all steeped in. It's really easy as someone who's been a left for years to criticize dumb normies. Yeah, maybe I did this. Maybe people got a bit funny about this tweet. I said a lot of American so-called leftists think they're leftists because they like Bernie Sanders' position on healthcare and foreign policy. I didn't mean that as like you can't do that. I meant it as this is why it happens so often that so-called socialist Twitch streamers or YouTubers come out as total like racists and horrible people, is because people get conned a lot of the time, I think, in like American Western breadtube, that people are actually a lot more left wing than when they are. Like, for example, even like me, like Andrew Yang and Tulsi Gabbard, before they revealed how shit they were, when they were just talking about like anti-war or like anti-intervention and UBI, it seemed like pretty progressive in like the American context. It's only after they got more scrutiny you see these people for like the weird libertarians they are. And I think the same thing kind of happens with sometimes American political commentators is like, yeah, you're pretty left wing in the sense you're advocating for universal healthcare in America and like scaling back the military. But then, you know, in most countries, that's a fairly centrist position, like a liberal position. So when it comes out, you're like an awful person who was like a racist like a year ago. I'm not that shocked, but that might be a bigger shock to American people. So I'm not trying to like gatekeep. Like, you know, if you want to like, you know, if you want a 4-day work week and you're a liberal, then I'm happily going to agree with you, and like I'd love to vote for the same things as that. But I think sometimes what gets missing sometimes, like, you know, Twitch streamers and YouTubers who say they're like these like hardcore lefties, and then they have like an awful take, like Western chauvinist take, or something that completely, like, for example, I don't know. Okay, I don't know much about Vosh's politics, but him coming out and talking about how like he wants global capitalism to be like everyone gets an iPhone, or like he's like, I don't want to scale back my standard of living to improve the standards of living of other people, right? He said that in a clip I watched, and I'm thinking like, how is this guy like a real leftist voice when he does not understand the inherent exploitation of, you know, when people often talk about globalism, it's about global capitalism. It's not about you know, interconnectivity of like cultures and stuff like this, maybe like liberal form. It's like globalism, what old school socialists mean is like the basically extension of Western colonialism through capitalism. And you have to recognize that the reason the West lives, and, you know, the developing countries now as well, the reason they have these better standards of living than the other countries is not because they're better or smarter. It's because the mechanisms that were created with colonialism still exist, where the ex-colonial countries remain the most powerful because we still exploit these countries for their minerals and their resources and their labor. You know, the lowest wages in the world, I think, are in Ethiopia for women who make like Tommy Hilfiger clothes and stuff. And you know, this guy is obviously like Vosh does, you know, lots of good things like that Palestinian charity thing. You know, that's an amazing use of your platform. But I'm saying it's not that surprising to me when an American comes up with that sort of view on capitalism, where it's like, I want to raise everyone up to the American standard of living. But then to most people, it's like, everyone can't reach that American standard of living because the American standard of living both works as an exploitation of the American working class, but also the global exploitation of like other countries by America. And that's how global capitalism works. And I think like sometimes with Americans, it's very like, even American leftists, it's very inward focusing. Like, you don't have this internationalist outlook. And I don't know, like maybe, you know, a lot of people praise my content. Like one of the best compliments, I read a comment I got from someone who is Vietnamese on my South Vietnam video. Like he was saying like what a good job I did. They, you know, when they heard like a Western Brit talking about Vietnam, they were ready to like cringe and like dismiss everything I said. But they said, you know, very, very good description of what happened in the Vietnam War and stuff. And that makes me happy because like, I've always liked international stuff. But I think, you know, sometimes that comes from maybe the background of my family, which is obviously like Irish and stuff, and has suffered at the hands of colonialism, so that makes me more anti-colonialism. Whereas I think some Americans, obviously I'm not sure about the background of all these streamers, is when you grow up in the American context where you live in a country that has only gotten better and better and better in terms of its global standing, based on like obviously displacement, ethnic cleansing, genocide of its own populations, but also doing that to the rest of the world to achieve this stuff. I guess sometimes you just don't think of this. And then a lot of Americans, like even liberals, think America hates imperialism because of the revolution or some shit. Like that's the type of brainwashing I think that is like inherent in being an American. And I think the Britain have it as well, like a massive problem with this stuff. But I think American brainwashing is just over the top. Like it's totally insane. Like the Pledge of Allegiance is I went to Catholic school. We have to say the prayer every morning. That's bad enough. But like you go to Catholic school sort of with this agreement that you are already like a Catholic, whereas with the American stuff, it's literally like, oh yeah, you have your First Amendment rights, but you're going to be peer pressured into saying the Pledge of Allegiance in a lot of places, and if you try and like not say it, then of course there's been cases where people haven't done it and they've won based on like legal grounds, but it's like the peer pressure side of it, and then obviously you have the political party system in America is like, where is the major dissenting voices on like the core American values? You don't really have it, the dissenting voices. And even like when I was reading about this railroad strike in 1877, I'm like, what the hell happened to America? Like, this is mad. Like, these are like militant socialists taking over like a city. And I was like, that didn't even happen in like Britain and stuff, and that's happening in America. And it's like now America, like since obviously like the Red Scares in like the 20s and the 50s and stuff, it's just like totally. And I don't know what when you guys would say the brainwashing went insane. I don't know if you'd say it's Ronald Reagan or if it's 9/11. But if you're growing up in the shadow of 9/11, the brainwashing got obviously ramped up. Like all the news channels had like American flags like on the screen all the time during the coverage of the news, like in the wake of like 9/11 and stuff. So it's like American like nationalism, patriotism is so like over the top, and like Kennedy said, like to a degree, I can like I obviously think you should give people a lot of chances to break out of that brainwashing, because it can take people way longer than some others. But then that's what frustrates me so much when you have people who are like, okay, Vosh isn't like the best example because I don't think he's actually that bad for everything. But in terms of like some of his takes, I think it's a bit emblematic of like Destiny style takes about like how great America is, or like it's better than other people, or like not realizing the exploitation of global capitalism and stuff. But I think that often comes with maybe being an American who maybe isn't from a background in America that has been treated really bad at the hands of capitalists and stuff. That's just my opinion. But like you know, I think you shouldn't be, especially the thing is, I think you especially shouldn't be very harsh on people who haven't lived a very secure life financially, haven't had a good education, while actually growing up in one of these like awful Republican states as well, like Texas or Carolinas and stuff like that. I'm a lot more sympathetic, but then like it can be very hard. Like when you've all met like those totally awful people, and in your head you're going, you're just like obviously like a product of your environment, but you're still like a total like like total dirtbag. It's really hard to feel much sympathy for you. I actually have this friend. I have this friend who was in the British military, and he's half South African, and we've been friends for a long time. Everyone always says we're like the weirdest like couple of friends and stuff, just because we're so different. And I was trying to argue with someone the other day. I was like, I know deep down he's not a bad person, and I could easily convince him of a lot of left-wing positions, but his indoctrination of growing up in a certain environment, like town, a certain family, and being brainwashed in the military, I think it'd be kind of hard to get him to publicly go back on that stuff, as much as I like would want to work on him to try and make him change. And I think that's just the problem. But like I can see it, like I can see this guy is not a bad guy, but I've had to like mute him from Facebook just because I just can't take his politics and stuff. So I think lots of people have stuff like that, like and like obviously he's a soldier, doesn't have like a great ex-soldier, doesn't have a great education. Like obviously not someone who's like doing the capitalist oppressing. Like obviously someone you want to kind of work with, because at the end of the day, like he has a vote like you do. But yeah, it can be very hard. It's kind of like, I wish I could just untangle like the electricity in your brain to make you think a bit differently. But then sometimes you can just tell these people are good, like fundamentally good, but they're just like a massive victim of brainwashing, like indoctrination, which is like, you guys will know as Americans, a lot of you. I'm talking about British indoctrination, but American indoctrination is very, very hard because to deprogram people from, I feel, because like nationalism and patriotism, especially when you're told about how great, like, for example, some people during the Trump administration, like liberals, are like, we used to have like JFK. JFK was great, and all this stuff, and like nothing like Trump. Trump's not presidential. Like Joe Biden's presidential. These people, like, they're obviously right to feel like revulsion at Trump. But the problem often is you can't deprogram them enough to think America is just fundamentally bad. It's more like Trump is the problem and Republicans are bad, but America is good, and the America of Obama and Biden is good, but the America of like Trump's America is bad. Rather than, no, this system is really shitty. Like, just in general, no one, loads of people don't get healthcare and are caught in poverty traps. We need to fundamentally change what America is, as it exploits, obviously, like I said, people around the globe through massive corporations or just foreign policy and stuff. So yeah, it feels like and obviously it's kind of like even crazy to think about, because like the media apparatus of these forces you're fighting against is just so vast. It's very hard to like deprogram them, and that is like the internet. I wonder what people think in the chat. Let me know what you think in the chat. The internet has been so good at giving people access to freedom of information, where you get exposed to a lot of ideologies that you would never get exposed to if you just grow up in a certain environment, listen to the local radio and TV, and that's all you learn. But then at the same time, I'm thinking, but has Facebook and Twitter really just accelerated this and given it like mass appeal? So it's no longer like localized to certain communities. It's now easier to indoctrinate people who traditionally wouldn't believe these things growing up in their like more like liberal communities or something. Let me know in the comments, do you think access to the internet has been good or bad for people being deprogrammed from like patriotism and nationalism and stuff? I'd be interested in hearing that. Oh, fucking stupid mosquitoes everywhere. So Tom's saying, I'm 23 and I had many friends that went to college and never challenged their political beliefs. Did they not do like humanities or political science or something? Liberal arts is like the usual 4-year college. Yeah, I did 3 years for the undergrad and one like a long year for the masters, like an actual like 365 days basically. Oh, anything not STEM is liberal arts. Okay. One of my friends who went to college is now into Ayn Rand. Oh my god. Yeah, arts are super important. Like liberal arts are super important for politics and policy and everything like that. Breadtube is just like, I don't know if we're talking about the subreddit. It's just like a weird collection of like different like liberal leftist things. Like my stuff was on the front page there yesterday when I posted the IDF thing. So they're good for a lot of stuff. Not great for others. They threatened to bring Vosh down on you. Yeah, like I don't even give a shit. Like a lot of my audience watch Vosh, and I literally, if you're gonna watch politics, people, you could watch a lot worse. But there is a lot of fanaticism around him. Like if you criticize him, like I remember his subreddit were like, I posted something there, and they were like, this dude criticized his like how he treated Mel in that debate, get him or some shit like that, and I'm like my whole problem with that was just like how he conducted himself and how bad a look it was, and they really didn't like me saying that. So yeah, I think it's always dangerous to have like cults of personality forming. Like I think left people are generally forgiven. Like I'll happily criticize Vosh, but the thing is, I literally say this all to his face. If I went on his stream or something, I'd happily say it all to his face. But that doesn't mean like I think he's like an awful person that should never say anything again. Same with like a lot of people like who stream and do YouTube. I think they can have like insanely bad takes, but I don't think they should be like cancelled forever or some shit like that. Yeah, Tom's saying, I watch Vosh a good amount and I understand where you're coming from. The American standard of living is based on exploitation. Yeah, it's the whole Western standard of living. And the problem is, I was saying this to my girlfriend a couple of months back. I was like, if you asked me, would you scale back your standard of living so that someone in a country that has been like historically exploited could have either a better standard of living or the same standard of living as you, and you'd never see them. You'd never see how it affected them, how much better it made them. And like, because of my politics, I'd say yes. Like, I'm not big on like, as long as I have my certain stuff, like I like my video games and I like my computer and stuff, but I'm not someone who has like loads of fancy nice clothes. I don't like, my car is just like nice enough, it's serviceable. I'm perfectly happy to live like simply but comfortably, which is the main thing for me. But obviously in our generation that's not even achievable anymore, it doesn't feel like. But for a lot of people, if you said, even let's say like he used the iPhone analogy. Let's say I have an iPhone 8. If someone said to you, everyone who has everyone now has to have iPhone 5s, and then everyone in the world can have it. Would you do that? Would you trade in your iPhone 8 or 10 or X for a 5? But that means everyone can have it. A lot of people would say no. And I think that's just like the inherent brainwashing of greedy capitalism, is that you don't, and that's what I think people don't get as well. We don't, like I said, we don't live in these societies because we're better. It's because there is a purpose. Like, countries are poor, and do you remember that stuff? It was like make poverty history. It's like countries are poor because of global capitalism, and the system is designed that way to enrich certain countries at the expense of other countries. And even if these countries get more developed, there'll always be that massive disparity there. And that's why this notion of like poverty being something that can happen because of like, I don't know, mismanagement or something, which it can, but I mean like in a more like global widespread scale, it's because of the global capitalist system that keeps these countries poor. And also like, it sucks that a lot of these countries are also in places that are very volatile. The climate, in terms of climate change, are going to affect them a lot more as well. And then you're really going to see how greedy people can be when there is a lack of, you even see it with the health stuff at the moment. Like, who has all the resources? Western countries. Who's not sharing them? Western countries. Who are the giant corporations who make this stuff in bed with? Western countries. Why, treating the health crisis as we should just help everyone get treated against, I'm not going to talk about it explicitly because I just don't want to get striked or anything, but like, we should be distributing everything so the whole world can recover. But with this sort of nationalist stuff as well, when like the exploitation is just not happening, and I think that shows how sick this ideology is really. Yeah, someone said about Scandinavian socialist countries, which are like sort of like a mix of like capitalism and more like socialist policies. Yeah, Denmark is like a weird one because the thing is like, yeah, I get what you're saying, because I think Denmark was involved in like Iraq and Afghanistan. So they're obviously like definitely players, and yeah, I think the problem is also like these Western countries, even if they're not like the main players in this exploitation, their companies often exist in the same like ecosystem as like your massive French, British, American companies. So as nice as it is these countries treat their own citizens better, I do think they're still part of the problem. Although Denmark obviously is a lot better than a lot of European countries and stuff. But yeah, like even countries like that are more like, they're still part of this like global capitalist exploitation, because these are countries that were in bed with the European colonialists. I think was Prince Philip like from Denmark or something in Greece. Anyway, Denmark royal family obviously been very linked to the British royal family. But yeah, obviously the most guilty are France, Britain, and America, and Germany. But a lot of the other European countries are also very guilty as well. sorry, I'm just reading some more comments. Oh, I missed a load, sorry. Oh, yeah, I was talking about the internet thing I was talking about, people replying to. Sorry, let me have a look. I just missed a load. Sorry, I missed loads and loads of comments. All right, here we go. Kate saying, I also assume in the US that popular social media lefty liberals are likely to be higher income backgrounds because it's near impossible to. Yeah, that's a fair point as well. Same with me, to be honest. Like, obviously, I'm from a my general family background is like working class Irish, but my dad like luckily did well in school, got a really good education. So yeah, he's had a good career and stuff. So yeah, it's made us like middle class and stuff. But yeah, no, it's exactly the point. You know, you need the time. You need, a lot of people have to work from a young age. Like the only job I had when I was growing up was just like a Saturday, Sunday job you do for extra money. Whereas other people have to like work from young ages, work through college, to pay for college and stuff like that. So yeah, I totally respect that. I didn't even realize how weird it was that we say the Pledge of Allegiance growing up in elementary, middle school. Yeah, it's so fucking weird for children to pledge allegiance to a flag, like a nationalist symbol and stuff. Gulf War, Ready to saying is that, yeah, I can see that actually. 9/11 just confirmed it. Tom saying we've been brainwashed into civil war. Alan saying, in my experience, the American public school system has people that will threaten to kill you if you don't do the pledge. I got a lot of death threats and teachers blame me for insulting the other kids. Damn. Yeah, that is crazy because it is all like, even if it's technically legal to not do it, it's still like the peer pressure stuff of like, oh, you hate America, especially if you live in like a more like red state or something. Wikipedia is a good source. Yeah, Wikipedia is a good source. You got to be like, the guy who runs it is a bit of a weird libertarian, but or the guy who created it. But yeah, generally like it's a good thing. Just got to know how like it works though is important. So I'm just reading some more comments. Oh, people are fighting. Sorry, I thought they were all directed at me. 4chan, 8chan are great examples of radicalization. Yeah, exactly. Katie saying the internet is a beautiful mistake. Yeah, I kind of, I never can really, I never know where I really feel because obviously like I love the internet as someone who's like, I'm more online than a lot of people I know in my real life. Obviously, because that's my job at the moment. But yeah, it like the Palestine stuff has showed like the best of social media. I think where like the real unfiltered footage coming out of Gaza is like so like radicalizing for people. I think I read a poll I said in my video yesterday, something like perception of Israel changed like -57% in the UK or something. Like it was the biggest out of any country in the West. Their perception of Israel changed with the recent actions. And I think that is in large part due to just how, like I said, unfiltered this stuff is on social media. And my video yesterday was about the IDF trying to win this like internet culture war. But even the article was saying like the Palestine's like solidarity is so much bigger, thanks in part obviously because Palestine is such a massive issue to most Muslim countries and most Muslims and stuff. Well, obviously has like a lot of Western support as well. What does a year of tuition usually run in the UK? I don't even really know now. I think it's like 9 grand for undergrad. That's 3 years, and then 7 for postgrad. But then with your undergrad, you got to pay something else as well. So it's not like 20. It's like 40k for 3 years, I think, something like that. But the way our loans work, like I've barely paid back any. I probably will never pay them back. So it's a better system, although they have raised the prices. So it's just going to be like extra tax you pay for the rest of your life. It's crap. Or not the rest of your life, but it's written off when you're 40. Stupid flies. Um, yeah, Mac. Basically, you don't have to pay it back. It gets taken out of your taxes. Like when I was working, it'd be like 50 like £50 out of your tax for that paycheck or something, or maybe even less, maybe like £29. I haven't even paid for any of it, to be honest. But yeah, basically, think the way to think about university prices in the UK, it's basically like increased income tax until either you get to an age where it's written off or you pay it off, but the rates you pay back are really not high. Like you're not really going to notice that money, because you also have to make a certain amount of money a year to actually pay it off in the first place. I think it's like 22k or something. Trying to read some more stuff. All right, I'm going to catch up. Skullfrick saying Vosh fans have this pride of being objective and practical, but defend Vosh relentlessly. Yeah, the only good time is I did see a big criticism of him for the Mel stuff on his own subreddit, like a big post just talking about like how poorly it was he handled himself and stuff, which was good to see, I guess. So I'm just skipping stuff. Just reading some more comments. People fighting again. Yeah, many Europeans don't even consider Spain part of the West. Yeah, I spoke about this a lot. A lot of like pale Europeans, like racist. Spain and Italy are not part of the West, basically. Yeah, really saying Northern Italy doesn't consider Southern Italy white, and Southern Italy doesn't consider Sicily white because of all the Arab conquests in Italy and stuff. When my partner went to hospital, he went private to free up the public system for someone who can't afford it. When he told his parents, they said he shouldn't care about others and he was crazy. Is this in America you're talking about? Because obviously, if you pay your taxes in the UK and you have something wrong with you, go to the NHS. Oh damn! Kennedy's saying there's a statue of George W. Bush outside the high school I went to. That's so crazy. I mean, not that the UK is much better with all our statues to horrible people. Um, so yeah, Mac's saying he's never said the pledge. To be honest, Mac, I made a video on it like a couple of years ago. Lots of people said different things. Some people said like really awful stuff, and a lot of people like yourself said I just never said it. I've heard Greeks that say they're white when people want to bring up Thermopylae, but Turks every other day. The Thermopylae stuff is so interesting and fucking stupid as well. That's what my Greek video was about. Like it's seen as this like it's like literally people paint it as like the Western Alamo, where like Greek civilization, therefore Western civilization, was saved from the barbaric Persians because yes, the Persians were so barbaric back then, and of course they Spartans were way more backwards than the Persians. Yeah, yeah, classy nerd. Basically, I think it's like if you make over 22k a year, you've got to pay a certain proportion of your salary, and it's really not a lot. And if you get to 40, I think it's either 40 or it's after 20 years, so 41 in my case, because that's when I started at 21. That's right off the debt, basically. Yeah. So it's not like America where they'll proper chase you for it and like you have to pay it and stuff. But my dad got paid to go to university in the 80s, so that's how much it's changed. But yeah, that's like obviously a better thing. I went on Kennedy, who's in the chat stream, bad praxis, and we were talking about this healthcare stuff. And the crazy thing in America, although I'd heard about this before, someone on the stream was saying that they don't get a better job, because if they get a better job, they get kicked off Medicaid. Is Medicaid for everyone? Which one's for old people? And that's like, it's crazy. It's like in a society that's meant to be like pro-capitalist, like work up the ladder, blah blah blah. It's like, oh, don't work too hard, turn down that promotion, or you'll lose your healthcare. That is literally. I was explaining this to my girlfriend actually. We're walking today, I think, and she was like, that is so bad. And I was like, yeah, Americans are so crazy in that there's not even Medicaid is for poor people, Medicare is for old people. Yeah, Americans are so crazy, like as a society. The healthcare stuff is the one that really gets me. It's like, this isn't like a left and right issue. You're all suffering from this. Like, you can't put a price on health, but like America is so cucked by capitalism. It's both the prize, like real estate for these medical insurance companies, but also pharmaceutical corporations that love to charge insane prices for their products and also own the generic and branded versions of their drugs. So they can literally control the prices of these products however much they want. And that is just something Americans accept. Like, my mum listens to American radio. It's like a radio that plays like 50s music, like Rat Pack stuff. And sometimes I'm just like eating my dinner, and the radio's on, and I'm getting adverts for like Viagra or something like coming out of the radio, like some other treatment. It's like, contact your doctor to buy this, and it's like, this is so crazy. There's literally no medicine adverts in the UK. The only stuff you sometimes get is like like sort of like treatments for like heartburn or something. That's the only one I can really think of on the TV. But that not really like not really anything else. So it's like literally America, like the American upper class pride itself on being like the best example of like capitalism working. But in my mind, America is like the perfect argument. Like a lot of Western countries like the UK obviously aren't far behind, but like it's the perfect. It's like the country where capitalism has like completely gone insane, like so wrong, and there's no better example of that than the healthcare industry and the pharmaceutical industry in America. It's just like insane, and Biden not even facing much pressure to do it. Like, it's not like he was, because of how they marketed Biden. It's not like get in and pass healthcare straight away. But also they just don't want to do it. It's like this Joe Manchin stuff. I'm thinking, if you really cared about Joe Manchin, why don't you just sit him down and say, if you don't do this right now, I'm gonna throw all the money against a primary opponent in your state who is like you but will play ball if you don't do this right now. I'm sure if they really wanted Joe Manchin to cave on this stuff, he could, but it just feels like they don't want to do this. And it feels like it's a convenient excuse. Or like, what could we do? This guy who's from like a Republican leaning place doesn't want to do it and stuff. And also, not to mention like the poverty in America. Obviously, like the thing is with the poverty in America is why it's different to other countries is that the social safety net is so bad. In that it's not really there. And that's like yeah, the UK is really bad for this at the moment as well. But in America, it's like the healthcare thing. Obviously, like a lot of people just don't go. Like it's like with I'm not going to say what it is because again, I don't want to be targeted for any misinformation stuff. But like the recent treatments for the health crisis going on right now, a lot of Americans didn't get it because they thought you had to pay, and some Americans actually were being charged for it by their insurance companies. I'm getting mine on Friday, by the way. Finally. Ads for antidepressants, that's pretty wild, actually. I need to look some of these up. Yeah, Redley, I remember that, because I used to watch the debates in the stream. Democrats hate being in power. Yeah, but there's that really funny Simpsons meme, isn't there? Wait, this one. Love it. Here, have you got this? Have you got this out? Like the Simpsons used to be good. This is like one of the most accurate things like I've seen. Look, We hate ourselves. We can't govern. And then the Republicans are like, we want what's worse for everyone. We're just plain evil. Like, The Simpsons used to have some good stuff, to be fair. So, we'll take some chat comments again. Oh, thanks so much, Kate, for the donation. Got to go, but fuck the United States of racism. Yeah, exactly. No, thank you so much. Very kind of you to donate. And yeah, good to see you again in the chat as well. Good to talk. Really appreciate the donation. And yeah, have a good evening and good week if I don't see you on Thursday stream. So to what degree does American political culture bleed over into UK politics? I mean, quite a lot. Obviously, you have Reagan and Thatcher coming at the same time, Blair and Clinton, and maybe even Bernie and Corbyn. I think they reflect each other quite well. I think, to be honest, Trump has been really, really toxic for British politics. Like, I think he's had a really bad effect on British politics, which is really depressing. So, yeah, I'm hoping it kind of reverses, but it feels like it won't. Like, the Brexit stuff felt like Trump. It felt very similar. And for misinformation in politics. Also, okay, I think what Trump's done to the political culture is that a lot of Conservative MPs are just not resigning for stuff that would like end your career like 10 years ago. And even though they've been found guilty of like breaking the law or misleading people that you're not meant to mislead, they just double down that they didn't do anything wrong and continue. And their polling just nothing happens. And I think that's what Trump made people realise is that you don't have to like quit if you're caught doing bad stuff, because the public don't really care sometimes. So I think that's the worst effect of Trumpism on the UK. It just feels like there's like no accountability for anything, which totally sucks. Like, it generally feels like they could do anything at this point and no one would care. Yeah, Cuomo in America, it feels like all politicians are, there's just no bottom line anymore. It's like, I can't even believe that Al Franken had to resign for that stuff. Now you think about everything else that's happened. It's just like pretty crazy. But yeah, I'd say like it mirrors each other. I'd say, look, to be fair, I'd say there's not too many countries, despite them not being completely similar. I'd say there's not too many countries that really have like a very direct impact on each other's politics, I'd say. So it's not wrong to compare them at all. Obviously, like the Tories are not like the Republicans, really. Like, the Tories pretend to be like good, like it's all sneaky in the background. Republicans, like in that Simpsons meme, they literally just don't give a shit. They'll tell you, they'll make your life worse. Like, that's literally it. And the Tories will pretend they're doing stuff for you. I think that's the big difference. I spoke about this on the stream of Kennedy, called Bad Praxis. If I'm typing on YouTube, where I talk a bit about UK politics. So just checking I didn't accidentally show you guys all my emails. Because when I opened the Simpsons page, it asked me if I wanted to log in with my Google account, and all my emails just popped up on screen. But thankfully, my me on camera covered it all up. Yeah, VKRTM. I don't really want to talk about that stuff. Yeah, basically, I'll talk about it a tiny bit. I got a copyright strike on my channel, on my Roadie Boo video. I'm not going to say who did it. I think if you click on the video, it will tell you who did it. I messaged a person to try and get the strike removed. They said no. And I basically feel like they're manipulating the copyright system to basically silence me. I would have happily taken down the video and edited it if they messaged me personally. I didn't criticize them in the video, but they were interviewing someone who I did criticize. They seem to think it's not fair use, including that interview, because I don't say anything about them. I would strongly disagree, and I just think the way they've gone about it is really shitty. But for now, I'm going to wait for the strike to expire. I'm going to be a bit more careful. Like I said, I've made a new overlay. You might have seen it yesterday, actually. and it's not to avoid copyright. Like, I'm perfectly happy for like the copyright system to exist, but basically, what happens, right? So this is like a pretty primitive one. I'm not gonna get it now. This is like a pretty primitive one I've made. I've made a nicer one today. That's what I said I was doing. Oh, come on, fuck off. So I made one today. So look, basically what happens if I just, not that it matters to this actually, because this isn't a YouTuber's channel. But basically from now on, if you notice a change, when I use a clip from someone, I'm going to stick it in here. And what that does is it means when people look at their copyright things, it won't automatically flash me up. The only reason like I do that is because like what has happened with the copyright strike. I feel like someone has just like looked at their copyright, saw it, and just strike the video. And I feel like they've really just abused the system. So if I can mitigate that, that's what I'm trying to do basically. But obviously they can still, if they find my video, if I'm like, here's why Geeks and Gamers is bad, he can just go see it and copyright strike it himself. But yeah, very, very annoying. But yeah, I don't really want to talk about it other than that. But yeah, very annoying. Just a bit like anxiety inducing as well, because if you get 3 strikes, your channel gets terminated. And also, if you dispute the strike, you've got to be willing to go to court. So I would be willing to go to court for the one I was striked on initially. Obviously, I don't want to do that. And the YouTuber who did it obviously has way more subscribers and makes way more money off his stuff. So probably have a decent enough lawyer. Whereas like I'd have to borrow my brother's lawyer or something. And still have to pay them. Anyway, annoying shit. Yeah, you've seen some channel, and that's mainly is that you don't want to get into like a copyright like trap, really, I guess. But yeah, it also looks alright as well. Like I used to like doing it for some of my stuff. The one I've made is quite nice. Anyway, I was going to talk about this. How Buckingham Palace is really racist. I don't think I will now. I might save it for another time because I always struggle to come up with new things to talk about, like just like a topic I can put in the headline. So I'm just reading some tweets. All right, let's go. All right. Oh damn, that sucks, Kennedy. What did you post that got you the strike? Like, did you post like footage of a TV show or something? But so what was I gonna say? If anyone has any questions left, get them in quick. I'll answer some questions for the last part of the stream. But yeah, feel free to ask me anything. So so I guess if you guys want to get in some stuff. So tomorrow's video, I was thinking about. Help me out with this one, if people got any other examples. So the title I got on my list is How the Right Wing Adopt Lefty Movie Stuff, Matrix / Fight Club, Red Pill / Snowflake. Has anyone got any other examples of like pop culture things that have been like adopted by the right wing and basically completely misrepresented its meaning? So the red pilling stuff is like that is like a key example of like initially its meaning being completely distorted. Like that's like without question. Even in the context of the film, before people really accepted it as a transgender like story, it doesn't really make sense because it's more like an anti-corporate thing. Being red pill doesn't mean you wake up and just start being really fucking racist. The snowflake thing is different in that it's like it misses the point of the word being popularized by Fight Club, in that it's meant to represent toxic masculinity. So using snowflake as like an insult to people not being like hard or masculine enough is like obviously they missed the point of that. But I can't think of like other prominent examples. Like maybe that's enough to make a video on. But I was just wondering anyway. And then I wanted to make one about women in video games. Maybe talking about like Tifa, Abby from The Last of Us, and Aloy, and just like the hysterical reaction to like non-sexualized women in video games, which is like pretty ridiculous. Because I don't know if you guys saw that meme going around of Aloy like touched up with makeup on. I think like the thing is like the people's definition of what attractive is so weird. Like Abby and Aloy are like attractive enough. Like I don't think they're ugly at all. Like I say Abby, like especially as you get to know them as characters, like they are like attractive women and stuff. But Abby's obviously features are very harsh. Like I wouldn't say she's like ugly, but it's like very harsh looking woman. Where Aloy is just like a totally normal looking girl with like crazy red hair. Just because they're not like insanely sexualized. Even though Abby actually does have like quite graphic sex in The Last of Us. It's just like a weird thing they do. It's like why should every woman character, like even Lara Croft, they obviously toned it down. She's still very like attractive, like conventionally and stuff. But they still got mad about that, and obviously like the Tifa stuff in Final Fantasy remake. They got well pissed off. They like shrunk her boobs and made her outfit less skimpy and stuff. So I want to make a video on that as well. The Abby stuff is totally ridiculous. Like they're saying like women can't. I follow women on Instagram. Like the thing is, Abby doesn't even look like a bodybuilder. I follow women on Instagram. Like there's this one girl I follow. I think she's like 24 or something. Like similar age to Abby. She's like big, not on bodybuilding, but like doing weights, and like I steal some of her weight workouts and stuff. And she reminds me of Abby, like her frame and stuff. But then you have like totally insane people like who I respect the commitment to, because I know some bodybuilders. It's like men and women who like sculpt their bodies properly, and Abby doesn't look like them. And it's not like unrealistic to think someone in the apocalypse could have like pretty massive arms. Like, you know, if you live, especially like they show the society she lives in with like this literally factory farming going on in this stadium, and she's like eating burritos and shit like that. She obviously has access to food, and then she's talking about working out all the time, and you think like, you know, it's unrealistic. It's crazy. Oh, thanks so much, Mac. Mac's donated $5. Glad the channel was growing so steadily. 100k in no time. Yeah, Mac, Red Leader, and Kennedy are like my old school supporters from like 2 years ago. So they've been here the longest. No, thanks for the support, man. I haven't seen you comment on my videos in a while, or anything really. So it's good to hear everything's going okay. Yeah, but like, because I used to stream a lot more in 2019. Because I streamed a lot in 2019 when I was looking for work after graduation. Then I stopped streaming in 2020 because I had work. I'm doing YouTube at the same time. Just didn't have time. And then I started again in 2021. But yeah. NATO booze. Yeah, I don't know really. Like, is there such thing as a NATO boo? Or like, is there like an online like meme culture for like NATO? Abby is my queen. Yeah, I really like Abby. I'm playing Last of Us 2. I'm gonna play it again after when I finish the stream. I'm on the Seattle day 2. It looks really good with the PS5 update actually. Scarface has lots of conservatives. Yeah, that's actually really interesting. Spooky Kitty. I'd recommend this book to everyone, but Oliver Stone's audiobook describing his life and up until he won the Best Director Oscar for Platoon in 1987. He talks about the reaction by right-wing Cuban migrants to Miami when they found out that Tony Montana wasn't a communist, and they're like, make Tony Montana a communist, we're gonna like boycott the movie, blah blah blah. And then he was like, he found it really funny, and he was like, yeah, I'm not gonna make him a communist, because they wanted Tony Montana to be like the representative of like how bad communism is in Cuba, whereas like to them now he represents like how bad these exiles were. Like basically Tony Montana is like, you know, a criminal or something who gets exiled from Cuba with a lot of other different people, and they got really pissed off about that. But yeah, Oliver Stone is I wouldn't say he's like socialist, but if you read his book, he's very anti-establishment politics, with some left-leaning stuff in there, but he's not like the most left-leaning or something. Can you debunk the video of Ben Shapiro on Palestine? I'm sure other people have done that. I'm gonna. I did Palestine on Monday, so I'm gonna change it up. I think. What about the American Psycho movie? Yeah, but do people idealize that? I think people just meme that. Like, I really like American Psycho. Sorry. Yeah, the Resident Evil vampire lady. And Miranda in Mass Effect. Yeah, the Joker isn't a bad one, Blake. Yeah, okay. These aren't bad examples. I'm going to stick these down. But I wouldn't call Joker a left wing movie because the guy who made it basically said it's not. And I also think it's not a good movie. Godzilla, yeah, the Japanese Godzilla films. Wolf of Wall Street. The thing of Wolf of Wall Street, I watched this. I watched that again maybe like 6 months ago or so. I think it's like a absolutely like great movie in terms of like the script is just like amazing, and Leonardo DiCaprio is so good. The script was written by Terrence Winter, who wrote a lot of The Sopranos and wrote like the whole Boardwalk Empire. Really good. But I do think it really glamorizes that lifestyle. And I know the point is meant to be like this is so ridiculous. I don't think it shows enough of the consequences of that lifestyle to be an effective message against it. And that's why people like Jordan Belfort, the real one, have been able to make a career off the back of the film, basically. Twitch sickos hang NATO flags. That's just such a weird thing to be a simp for. NATO. um, yeah, Sidious is based on Nixon. I thought he was based on Hitler, but apparently he's based on Nixon, George Lucas says. Yeah, Berserk and anime I can't really touch just because I have no exposure to them. Um, yeah, see you later, Kennedy. Thanks for joining. I always appreciate it. Um, V for Vendetta. That's yeah. The thing is, I haven't seen people. Actually, it's not a bad one because of like the appropriation of the masks. If I'm talking about the symbolism of the film, it's not a bad one actually. For what I'm talking about. So yeah, thanks. That is a good one. Blake says, Cav, I'm on chapter 3 of Death Stranding and I love it. But when does it start making sense? I feel like I don't understand any of it. All right. Blake, quickly, I explained this before I go. What is chapter 3 again? I just don't remember, but I don't want to spoil the game for you. Yeah, Amity, are you sure that's not a meme about the Empire did nothing wrong? Because I think I'm in a subreddit called The Empire Did Nothing Wrong for back when I like Star Wars memes, and like I thought it was like a joke. Is it like not a joke? Deer Hunter, I need to watch as well. That's one on my list actually. The Joker's Antifa propaganda. I never seen that. When has Kojima made sense? When you start working with Fragile, is that after the first boss? Please no spoilers. No, I won't spoil it. Okay. Um, all I'll say about Death Stranding, to make everything make more sense, stop thinking about the world of Death Stranding like you think about, and this stuff is, you can miss this stuff because it's in like the codec thing in your room. Don't think about the world of Death Stranding like the tangible world we live in. Think of Death Stranding as if the Egyptian afterlife exists. Like the Egyptian afterlife is real. That's the best way to think about Death Stranding. Like, don't think because this is like the real world. I don't know. It's like more conventional. Think about like, because they talk about the Ra and Ka and stuff. So think about what the Death Stranding world is. It's like the world of the Egyptian afterlife colliding with the real world, and that's how you have such a mess in like this apocalyptic setting and stuff. That's the best way I could say to frame this stuff. It's like it's all about like pagan afterlife stuff, or like that's the world and stuff. I don't want to spoil it for you and Skullfrick, who says no spoilers. But yeah, think about it's like in Egyptian. I think in Egyptian like religion, it's like your spirit passes on, and it has to go like through this after like purgatory thing, and then you get judged on the scales, and it decides if you can go to the afterlife and stuff. So I think that is something to keep in mind to actually make the world make sense. Because when I went into it, I was like, "What the fuck is all this about?" Like, and that's why the babies, the BBs, because they haven't actually been born properly, and they still have the umbilical cord. They're like the bridge between the afterlife and the real life, and that's how they can detect the spirits. So think of the spirits as coming from the afterlife, and it's like this weird like I don't know, it coming together of this stuff. That's all I can say about Death Stranding, without spoiling it. I just think that's an easy way to like contextualize the world of Death Stranding. But on Death Stranding, yeah, Samuel P says for Death Stranding, I recommend just enjoying the gameplay and characters until the story gives you more direct answers. Yeah, in terms of, like I generally to keep in mind, I think Death Stranding as a whole is a story about climate change. Like a warning against a warning about climate change. Yeah, Mike, this is live, not for much longer though. Yeah, but Blake, don't. It will mostly make sense by the end, mostly. But I had that same like problem where I thought like this is like the weirdest shit I'm watching right now. Like, or like I'm playing. I really do not understand this. By the time you get to like chapter 5, I think you will, and then the ending is very long, but a lot of it is very good, I'd say. I really want to play that again. I'm playing The Last of Us Part 2 right now again, because I want to write my Israel-Palestine video about The Last of Us. And I thought, like, I really need to take in the context of how the WLF actually came to power, because in my head, in my video, I'm going to compare the WLF to, like, the Palestinian Jewish militias who fought the British in Palestine in like the 40s and stuff. Princess Peach, yeah, that stuff's fucking stupid. And then the Seraphites, you know, in my mind, are like a stand-in for the Palestinians. I hope Neil Druckmann didn't mean that like really literally. I really hope the Seraphites aren't based on like Palestinians. Maybe if they're based on Hamas, I could maybe accept that a bit more. Yeah, the lore. Tom's talking about that Halo. The lore of Halo and like the fascist stuff, like the Halo context is like the world descends into like a war, whereas like a fascist uprising and stuff on Earth. It's actually very like interesting lore it has. Anyway, I think I ended it there. It's streaming for about an hour and a half, so solid stream compared to like some of the ones we've been doing lately. Oh man, Mike, that is so nice of you. Okay, I got to stay now. Mike's donated $20. All right, Mike, I'm staying for you. You've made me stay. But I really appreciate the donation. That's so nice of you. Have I read much about the Spanish Civil War? If you got any follow-up questions to the Spanish Civil War or like any opinions, stick them in the comments now. So yeah, I'll talk about this one last comment. So the Spanish Civil War, it was obviously like super interesting period of history, and that is like a precursor to in some ways to World War II, obviously. Oh, Blake, man, thanks so much. My birthday's in an hour. Wish me a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Blake. How old are you? Is it a good birthday? Are you like, you know, enjoying your youth, or are you like 30 years old or the wrong side of 20? But no, happy birthday. Hope you have a good one. Whatever you're gonna do, what are you gonna do for it? Back to the Spanish Civil War. Yeah, it's very interesting period. Also, what's funny is like Franco like allied himself with Hitler, and then then he doesn't back Hitler in World War Two. But then the Americans don't really give a shit either, in that they kind of like let him off because he's helpful for being anti-communist. And my friend's mum actually lived in Gibraltar when Franco was dictator and like blockading it and stuff, which is interesting. But yeah, he was around for fucking ages. Like, didn't he die in like 1975? But yeah, Spanish Civil War is like super fucked up, but it's obviously very interesting in that it still plays a part in the politics of like, you know, even the football politic, you know, Barcelona versus Real Madrid, and Madrid being the fascist capital, and you know, Barcelona being the socialist capital. But yeah, Spain's history. Like, I love Spanish history. And I talked about it in the last stream. I think anyone who wants to talk about racism needs to know the history of Spain between, like, I don't know, like 700 AD to like 1609, when they kicked out the Moriscos. But yeah, like, obviously you got like loads of Irish people fighting in the Spanish Civil War. What I didn't realize actually is that like a fair few Cubans, or I don't know if it was Cubans or Spanish people who fought in the Spanish Civil War also fought in the Cuban Revolution, which is really cool. I'd love to hear, you know, read a book about someone who did that. But there was a couple. I remember there's like someone who's quite high up in the Cuban Revolution who fought in both, which is really cool. But yeah, the Spanish Civil War, like, it's cool that like an internationalist, like, socialist movement came together to fight fascism in Spain. But it's, you know, super brutal, the fighting. I've gone to Spain a lot in my life actually. Like, it's the country I've been to most, and when I go around Spain, I just think, like, especially when I'm going inland a bit more, I'm like, man, I can't like, this is so mountainous and like hot. And even when I think about like the Granadan revolt in like 1567, I'm like, the people who fought in these places, man, like, it's just so hot here. Can't even imagine it. So yeah, like, massive respect to like the people who did fight in that. Obviously, like, a lot, like I said, Irish people, Europeans who came together to do this stuff. It just sucks what happened, but you know, thankfully Spain is pushing more to get rid of a lot of the Franco stuff that still exists, like the monuments. But sadly, obviously, like with most of Europe, fascism is rising in Spain again, which fucking sucks. Especially with a country that has such a poor, bad history of fascism. But yeah, Spanish Civil War is something I need to read a bit more. Of course, I know, like, you know, German aircraft was used, basically like a testing ground for a lot of German weapons. But yeah, just kind of funny. Franco never fucking joined the Axis as well. Anyway, Mike, I hope that answers your question. Thanks so much for the donation. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoy my content anyway. And with that, hopefully I answered Mike's question. 22, Blake, enjoy it. Did I see my question? Oh wait, the fascists of Franco killed a Catholic fascist. I haven't heard of this before. Red leader, you're good with your history. Is this true? I'll pull it up on Wikipedia quick. So Jose Antonio Primo was the eldest son of General Miguel Primo de Rivera, who governed Spain as dictator from 1923 to 1930. He worked as a lawyer, blah, 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 blah. He founded Falange Española in October 1933, shortly before the 1933 general election, in which he was elected a member of the Republican Cortes, running as a candidate. He assumed the role of messianic leader and charged himself with saving Spain in founding a fascist party, but encountered difficulties widening his support base during his political life. By 1936, he endorsed a conservative and reactionary military coup seeking to destroy the republic that led to a civil war that he later tried to stop. Imprisoned before the start of the civil war, he was accused of conspiracy against the government and was sentenced to death and executed. So, post-mortem relevance. So it says the reign of Franco nurtured a cult of personality around him, called the Missing One. So I don't know. It doesn't seem like his death kicked off the Civil War. If anyone knows in the chat, let me know. But from what I just read on Wikipedia, I know not the best fucking thing to read, but it seems like, I don't know, maybe he didn't. Oh, okay. Mike, I'm sorry, I can't really help you out there. It seems like his death didn't kick it off. but even though he was killed by the government, they revered him later and made a cult personality around him. I guess that's the best I can say. Something I definitely need to read more up on. The things I know the least about, the phalangists were definitely a different fashion. Yeah, sorry, Mike. I can't really help you. The things I know least about in my, like, the biggest gaps in my knowledge are 1848 Europe, like revolutionary Europe, and I guess 1930s Spain is probably one. Some other ones as well. 1848 Europe is probably my biggest one. And yeah, that period in England I'm pretty good with, but yeah, others I'm not. Anyway, I will leave that there. Thanks so much for the donations, people who donated. Really appreciate it. I might actually lean towards doing that women video tomorrow, but we'll have to see. I might do the Matrix one. But check out the videos that you've missed. If you've missed any, check out the IDF one from yesterday. Sorry, I don't want to copyright stuff. Check out the IDF one from yesterday, and check out the ones from last week as well. Appreciate all your support. Let's hit 35k. I'd love to this week, but I'm being realistic. Let's hit it by the end of next week. Anyway, thanks all for tuning in tonight. Appreciate seeing so many of you back as usual, and all the new faces. Nice to see you as well. And another stream on Thursday night as well. Stream twice a week. And if you want to catch up with all of this, I will hopefully post it on the Kavernacle Extra, my archive stream channel, hopefully in the next 2 hours. YouTube gets funny with the upload sometimes.